All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome back. Bear with me as I keep one eye on the waiting room because I'm also letting people back in. But we are going to get started because we do have, just like we did this morning with the lightning talks, we have a little bit of a short time frame. So just like this morning's lightning talks, we're going to hear from 4 folks at 8 minutes each. Just a brief overview. So as a reminder, as Teresa mentioned, if you'd like to jump to the Track B lightning talks, you can certainly do that by using the breakout rooms button at the bottom of your screen. If you're not sure how to do it or you're having trouble, look in the participant list for someone with that tech help designation in front of their name, and you can send them a private message and they will be able to walk you through it and help you through it, because unfortunately I will not, because I'm doing some other things. So hopefully everyone is starting to get comfortable with that, and we thank you so much for bearing with us with our tech stuff earlier. So without further ado, I think we're just going to get started. That way our presenters can have some time. So let me introduce to you who our lightning talk speakers are going to be for the afternoon. So this afternoon, we are going to hear from Jen Sulligan, who is Civic Services Supervisor at the Somerset County Library System. She's going to talk to us about social work interns. Then we'll hear from Suzanne Kosempel from Raritan Valley Community College. She's going to talk to us about getting your community voter ready. Then Mary Moyer Stubbs, who is legislative consultant for the New Jersey Association of School Librarians, is going to talk to us about legislation and advocacy. And then finally, David Hansen, Executive Director for the Bergen County Cooperative Library System, and Linda Hoffman, Director at the Woodland Park Public Library, are going to talk to us about equity in recovery for a non-equitable pandemic, which is a mouthful. So we are actually going to get started with Jen. So Jen, are you all set? All right, let's turn it over.
Okay, thank you very much, Darby. I appreciate it. Okay, please bear with me. I'm going to bring up okay. So thanks again. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jen Sulligan, Civic Services Supervisor, Home Borrowing and Volunteerism for Somerset County Library System of New Jersey. I am here to add to this civic-minded conversation by sharing about our social work internship program. To assist Somerset County residents in need, Rutgers School of Social Work has provided the Somerset County Library System of New Jersey with social work interns who are then trained to provide specialized community resource assistance. 3 to 4 interns support our library community each school year. This year, we have 3 bachelor's level students entering their senior year in the program, but have had master's candidates in previous years. Pictured are some of the flyers and social media aids we have used over the years to promote the service to the community. We are a 10-branch county library system and have identified 4 of our branch locations as communities of highest need for this type of assistance. Libraries have been receiving more and more social services adjacent questions in recent years, and these 4 branches note needs that go above and beyond the level of support that reference desk staff can reasonably provide on a daily basis. The primary role of interns is to act as a community resource guide, connecting with patrons and supporting their navigation of available resources that may suit their needs. This includes maintaining a physical presence in the library for regularly scheduled hours, greeting and connecting with patrons to support program awareness, attending training that may increase awareness of local community needs, and to support the development of skills relevant to working in a library setting. Also tracking relevant activity stats, connecting with local community resources to confirm service details and statuses of their service, communicating with the location manager regarding additional projects as needed, identifying speakers on topics relevant to the local community, and helping the library support our community partners by extending service support in ways library staff may not be available. For example, a student intern may be cross-trained to administer an English language test for your local literacy volunteers. This draws test takers to the library and may create new library users in the process, and will immediately connect them to a social work intern if other needs are present. Last year, our intern program had over 85 unique patron interactions. Some of them were multi-session that resulted in referrals to community resources or in-house support, such as filling out relevant service applications, referring to a librarian or library program as appropriate, or even providing emotional support. While numbers are helpful for perspective on the overall program, I would like to highlight some of the work that culminated with patron and Bound Brook resident, Miss Clara Angel, becoming a U.S. citizen. The photo on the right shows Miss Angel on the left and former Bound Brook intern Veronica Del Monte on the right, posing for a celebratory photo with Miss Angel's naturalization certificate. Miss Angel and our very dedicated intern Veronica, who was so awesome, met at the Bound Brook Library for multiple sessions and worked together in both English and Spanish. I thank Veronica and her task supervisor, Kathy DeBerry, manager of the Bound Brook branch, for this success story. While not every library employs a licensed social worker to oversee their intern program, libraries are uniquely positioned in the community to support the learning of social work students and offer exposure to individuals facing a variety of circumstances. Our role in the library is to work directly with the field office for placement, provide students with opportunities to fulfill their Rutgers University learning contracts, involve students in the library system as appropriate, select assignments for the students in keeping with their educational needs, and to provide task supervisors on site, which in our case are managers of the branch locations to which the interns are assigned. I'll take a moment now to discuss the onboarding process for our social work interns. First, the Rutgers field office refers prospective interns. Each academic year, Rutgers works to support students in securing suitable placements for their master's and bachelor's in social work field experiences. Rutgers forwards interested students to us, and then we request to see a resume, cover letter, and there's also an intern application in the form of a Google form that we've created. Next comes the material review and interview process. The library system reviews intern applications and facilitates interviews with relevant library staff. Interns are selected based on mutual interest and collaboration with the site managers. All intern placements are conditional pending the results of a criminal background screening and completion of additional form agreements regarding organizational policies such as patron confidentiality. Lastly, field placement begins. Our interns begin working with SCLSNJ at the start of their fall semester. The first month of the internship is dedicated to training and orientation to the organization. Interns may begin working directly with the public in October. Support for our interns is comprehensive and lasts throughout their placement with us. First, our training manager works with us to develop the intern orientation program. It is an introduction to our library system, including intros to relevant staff, review of library policy, and best practices for working with the public. We also provide direct phone extensions, email accounts, and dedicated workspaces for our interns. Last year, we had an intern that worked remotely as a result of the pandemic, and she connected with clients through a webcam or by phone. Of course, task supervisor support is ongoing throughout the internship. And additional training opportunities are offered to our interns, including staff trainings as appropriate. And we will hold for the very first time beginning this semester, monthly social work intern collaboration meetings, which are intended to provide our social work interns with opportunities for collaboration, sharing, and guidance. And they also have project templates, which are essentially guided project assignments, and they include opportunities to interview community partners, create resource guides, and more. And that's it. Thank you to LibraryLink for the opportunity to speak today, to Nicole Pasco, my supervisor and Civic Services Manager, for providing much of the content for this presentation, and to all of you for being here to listen. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen, and cheers for that perfectly timed 8 minutes. down to the second. We are now gonna turn it over to Suzanne. Suzanne, are you ready to go?
Yes, hello, as long as I can see, I'm sharing my screen. 1 minute. There we go. Okay. Go into just a second. That's smaller. Oh. Okay. All right, can everybody see that?
Yes, it looks good.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Darby. Okay, so I'm Suzanne Kosempel. I'm an adjunct reference and instruction librarian at Raritan Valley Community College. And I'm going to be talking to you and sharing resources about how to get your community vote ready or voter ready. Either one works. So in my setting, I'm primarily in an academic library. I'm dealing mostly with 18 to 25-year-olds. And these young people have grown up doing everything on their phone. So you may have a different community though. Somebody who has a challenge with technology, busy families, seniors, people who speak English as a second language, or those without homes. So I'm hoping to share resources with you that can be accessible to all and give you some ideas on how to do that. So first off, we are all facing some of the same challenges right now. It's not a popular election cycle. It's a passion of mine to get people registered and to get people motivated into voting, but right now it's a little difficult. So we have changes still to the voting process. There's still vote by mail and drop boxes, and now we have early voting as well. So many established voters are confused about how to vote, and we're still dealing with some distrust in the election process. Many states have introduced ID laws, and although New Jersey is not one of those, many new voters believe that that is an issue, that they will have to provide ID to vote. So all these helpful resources that are online can be accessed by those who are tech savvy, but there are many who don't have access to the technology or who do not know how to do it. So the first thing that I wanted to spotlight was the New Jersey Voter Information Portal. And all of the things that I am going over are in the Padlet, all the links to those resources. So this is the #1 access point for everyone because you can do everything on this. You can check your registration status, you can register online, you can get videos on how to vote over the vote by mail process. You can track your ballot. So those who have issues with trust can follow their ballot and see that it has actually been secured and received. And it also is searchable on Facebook. If you search on Facebook for anybody who uses that social media, you can use New Jersey Division of Elections, and you will be able to find this information there as well. I have on this slide a QR code. It's accessible online. I use QR codes all the time for people to be able to take a picture of. And it also has a telephone access to this portal as well. Now, we have a LibGuide set up. We use this portal and we attach to it, but it has all of the information that you might need to print out as well. Forms for registration to send to the county clerk, forms for requesting your mail-in ballots, everything. So it is essential to know this portal. But I'm going to go backwards a little bit. And I'm going to start at the beginning. National Voter Registration Day is a big voting holiday. It's the 4th Tuesday of September. So we've already passed it, but next year it'll be September 27th, which is going to be a big year for the midterms. And if you partner with nationalvoterregistration.org, you can request posters in English and 12 other languages. They provide a digital toolkit with graphics that you can use on social media for a countdown. They have sample communications. And the biggest thing about this is that this is the 2nd year running now that New Jersey has offered online voter registration. So it has been great for young people who were confused, why do they need a form? However, this is where I'm going to mention some of those ID issues. If you register online, you have to provide either your driver's license or your social security number and digital signature. If you can't do either of those, then you have to submit a paper form to your county clerk, which means the first time you vote, you do have to use an ID. So all of this information is contained in that portal. You can find all of this out through all these resources. Nothing is leaving you out except for people who can't access them. So this is great if you have those printed forms available for your county so that people who need to do it through the mail can already have the form there and ready to go. After National Voter Registration Day ends, there's still time to register. You have up until 21 days before the election to register to vote in that election. But there's also the first week of October, which is National Voter Education Week. And that's where we really want people to start thinking about making sure their registration status is active, making sure they have a plan, they know where to vote, and they know what the who the candidates are and what the public questions are, if any, so that they can be prepared. So the next big holiday is Vote Early Day. Election Day is now the last day that you can vote. VoteEarlyDay.org has loads of information for you. It has downloads of posters that you can use and a digital toolkit with social media communications. And in New Jersey, we just started opening Vote Early on this past Saturday, and it goes through Halloween, Sunday, October 31st. So you can use a little bit of a Halloween theme if you want to promote this. We will use our LCD screens, the library newsletter, the student portal, put up posters, social media. Obviously, we have a table, we'll do printed out forms, and we partner with student clubs and student life. Now, in a public library setting, you could partner with a local bipartisan organization, such as the Senior Center or the League of Women Voters. Now, I'm going to list a couple of things that can help and assist these resources. And speaking of League of Women Voters, they have vote411.org. Vote411.org and ballotready.org. These both are great resources that you can use to help people to create their own voter guide. If they put in their address, it pulls up every single candidate, where they, what they stand on the issues for, who's running, what the questions are. They get all the explanations they need. So if you do an event, or if you want to designate a laptop or a computer, just specifically to have this set up, you can help somebody create their own personalized voter guide. Nonprofit Vote actually provides you with fact sheets and planning tools. They partner with Ballot Ready, so their site can also be used for this, but it's really a great resource where you can get information that you can have printed out and available to patrons. AARP also has a New Jersey voting guide, and they have a video where they have questions for issues that are pertinent to people over 50 that they've given to both candidates for governor, and it is an excellent site for that. And Voteo Latino, it focuses on the Latinx community. I do want to say this is not a nonpartisan. It does lean a little bit for Voteo Latino, but it does have that filter for the Latino community and explains topical issues. TurboVote is great because that is something that for those people who want something on their phone, it will send them text reminders. You can sign up for everything through your phone. And I included whenweallvote.org and iamavoter.com because these both have stores. So if you need any voter swag like masks or posters or hats, or if you're going to do a contest to say, if you give us your pledge that you will be voting and you have your voter plan made up, then you can use these. The Voting Information Project has a tool that you can embed in your site where they can get their ballot and know exactly what is on their ballot and where they have to vote, find their polling locations. And Facebook, believe it or not, has the Voting Information Center, which is actually educating about the process. And they'll go in through the history of vote by mail, how it goes back to the Civil War, and trying to show how voter fraud is very negligent. So basically, promote registration, inform as much as you can of the deadlines, provide the resources to make a voting plan, and encourage early voting. So thank you very much. All the resources are listed on the Padlet, and I hope I didn't go too fast.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. That was perfect and very informative. I did not know about all those different organizations, so that is super helpful. And we are going to now turn it over to Mary Moyer. Mary, are you ready to go? Uh-oh, Mary, are you there? I see her name. All right, so I don't know what is happening with Mary at the moment, but maybe if Dave and Linda are ready to go, we can go, and then we'll check in with Mary and see what's happening. Does that work? Yeah, Dave and Linda, is that cool with you? Thank you for your flexibility.
Wait a minute. I gotta unmute before I start. Sorry.
That's okay.
Stop share. Stop share. Okay. I
Added
gotta
pressure. I've now spotlighted you for additional
okay.
pressure.
You gotta, I guess you gotta unmute before you share your screen. There we go. There we go. All right, we can go now.
Hi, everyone. I'm Linda Hoffman.
And I'm David Hanson. And we're here to talk about the Access Navigators program that was recently launched. It is a new program, and it's meant to meet what we saw was a disparity in the pandemic. And I think what we saw was the pandemic and recovery yielded a case study in disparities. And these are just three highlighted ones. There was income. If you were a high earner in the pandemic, you recovered 6 months in. If you were a low earner, you're getting close, but you still haven't. We saw it in gender. An estimated 80% of the 1.1 million workers who left the workforce at the height of the pandemic were women. The pandemic likely erased 5 years of gains for women in the workforce. And even when you look at women of color, they're even more challenged. Hispanic women today have an unemployment rate more than twice that of Hispanic men. So their gender is definitely something that we've seen worsen. Currently, you've heard that there's a recovery. This is total unemployment by September 2021. It's at 4.8%. But if we break that down by race and ethnicity, African Americans are experiencing unemployment at 7.9%, Hispanics at 6.3%, Asians at 4.3%, and Caucasians at 4.2%. So in the face of what we saw was great disparity in the pandemic, we had to turn to something new.
So, and it did magnify the disparities between the information haves and the have-nots. And as information professionals, we understand that digital access and literacy have become a survival skill and is necessary to thrive in today's landscape. So the NJASL Economic Recovery Task Force surveyed public libraries to identify the top challenges of serving the recovery needs in their communities. And the top two results, well, 71% identified lack of staff time pre-pandemic, and 54% identified difficulty reaching into communities. So what's the solution? We proposed what we thought was a very strong solution, introducing Access Navigators into New Jersey libraries. We thought it would be instrumental in eliminating these challenges. So NJLA's Access Navigators program is funded through ARPA, and that funds that were received by New Jersey State Library through IMLS. This program will provide trained library staff to serve as access navigators, working within public libraries to help meet the needs of those displaced during the pandemic. New Jersey libraries were invited to apply to have an access navigator work in their library. Next slide. So what exactly is the Access Navigator program? Well, it's state level managed, but deployed at the local and regional level. It consists of a coordinator and up to 5 navigators with 3 client libraries each. It's deployed through consideration of key metrics, Dave will talk about, to enhance quality of access. But most importantly, it provides impactful skills to at-risk populations in support of economic recovery through programming and consultation to local populations in coordination with the local public library and local workforce development partners. Next slide.
So how do you figure out where the funds should go? I think that is a key thing that all public libraries are facing. So we came up with a criteria to select our libraries. There were 3 pieces. The first was project description. That's where you get to tell us a little bit how you're going to do these things. The next piece was really economic impact. We wanted to try and see if we can make the funds and the navigators go to the places that were hardest hit. We picked 2 different types of things. One was the local unemployment rate for the 3-month period ending June 30th, 2022. Remember, the recovery is active. And so we wanted to make sure that we tried to pick places where the pandemic had an outsized impact. And the other one was median local household income for the most recent fiscal year. And when we put these 2 together, we weighted them equally in this 40%. I will tell you, just in looking over what was the most likely indicator of who was to get a navigator, median local household income actually was a pretty good tracker. The second piece was service need. And this, I think, is something for all librarians to really rally around. Service need was defined by how many degreed professionals are in your community by population. And we think that's really important because this isn't a problem that's going to get solved and necessarily just through technology or just through anything else. It's going to be solved people to people. And so that's one of the reasons why service need did get in there. It wasn't as big as economic need, but we did want to take it into consideration when we thought about who should get an access navigator. Of course, we were able to pick some folks and get some navigators, but of course that leads us to what did our lessons learned and the opportunities that we see going forward.
So our lessons learned, we discovered through this process that it's hard to always keep up with rapidly changing landscapes, especially during a pandemic. We learned the importance of collaboration and cooperation, working with all of our state agencies, partner organizations, and beyond, such as the Heldrick Center, who provided us with research, support, and ongoing assistance with the program. It was evident that persistence pays off. We were faced with some challenges, time constraints, funding shortfalls, but we kept moving forward. And the outcome did not surprise anyone because we already knew that public libraries are serious about serving. We accepted the challenges, used a lot of resources, explored different funding models, added an unbelievable amount of dedicated and inspirational librarians and staff to create a program that no doubt will help many of our residents as they navigate the future.
There's also some opportunities moving forward in the future. Well, first thing we understand is most metrics are limited. I told you, median household income was probably the one that most foreshadowed whether you're going to get an economic navigator. That's probably not the best thing we'd like to see. We think there's an opportunity to accept the challenge. This work can be difficult. You're going to have to go digging, but we encourage everybody to spend a little extra time trying to figure out, particularly in a day about equity and equitable access, how that might be. There's a need for better ways to measure economic impacts. And this, I think, is huge because when we talk about how we're going to actually compare things across the state of New Jersey, how are we going to do that with better ways to measure? As I said, most metrics are limited. And finally, one of the take-home thoughts that I think is really, really important here is we need to invest in long-term, not crisis-specific infrastructure that would be helpful. I mean, if you think about it, everybody who had to face this pandemic was building things brand new, right? And it takes a long time to build things. It takes a long time to get funding. It takes a long time to do things. Meanwhile, the world is in crisis. So it would be much better to have infrastructure already in place that you can simply extend to meet the crisis as opposed to waiting and trying to meet the crisis where it is. So we'd like to thank you for having us here today. Thank you to our fellow task force members, James Keeler, Andrea Lewandowski, Eileen Palmer, Luca Mena, and Juliet Mackey. And of course, the inevitable Linda Hoffman.
Thank you, Dave and Linda. That was wonderful. And now we're going to move on to Mary Moyer Stubbs from the New Jersey Association of School Librarians.
All right, there, I'm unmuted. Do you have a copy of my slideshow?
I believe I do. Do you want to get started and I'll look for it? Or
Yes.
do you need to see it in order to?
Yeah, you can bring it up and
Okay.
I'll start. First of all, and I apologize, I should have just probably gone to my phone. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity, and also want to thank NJLA for all of their support with the school library legislative efforts. And you're probably asking, why is a session on school library legislation part of equity conference? But it's really a huge equity issue with so many school librarians or so many school districts not having certified school library media specialists. We have data that shows through the slide study and through the New Jersey School Performance Report Cards that over 1/5 of school districts do not have a school library. So those students are coming to your public library without skills. They're coming to your academic libraries without skills. So those, that's why I'm so glad to have this opportunity to talk about some of our legislation. There are currently 2 bills. They are listed there, and this slideshow is on the Padlet, and there are direct links in the slideshow to those 2 pieces of legislation, and as well as the white paper. If you click on that link for the white paper, we put together some information that provides the research and the why for the bills. This summer, we were able to hold 2 legislative sessions. We had 14 legislative districts represented, and we picked up probably 3 sponsors to the bills. And one of the things that this is the very first time that we've had bipartisan support for the bill. So we're really excited to have that bipartisan support. Some of our next efforts were creating letters to send to the Senate and Assembly education chairs, because that's where they're currently sitting. And that Google document has all of the lists of sponsors for the different bills and the legislative districts. So if you could go to the next slide. Okay, to make it simple, we've been working with every library. There are 2 petitions on the Every Library Save School Librarians page. If you click on that link, you can very easily and quickly send a letter to the legislatures. So that should make it simple for people to communicate with legislators. The next slide. Right now, we've just completed this school board candidate campaign. And on the next slide, we have a full press release. It's on the NJASL webpage. I will put it up on the Padlet. But if you click on, and I'll give the link for the full survey responses, we got over 300 responses from the 1,200 emails that we sent out. And I just heard from some of the candidates that they're actually going to put it up on their campaign website. And we got some really good responses for support for school libraries, because we know all of these decisions to either eliminate or hire positions are being made at the local level. So if we can start having an impact at the local level, that would be wonderful. And I'm going to put in a little plug here. There are, I can't even tell you how many school districts that have no competition for school board positions, or do not have all of those positions filled. So if anyone would be interested in running for school board, we would love to have some pro-library candidates on the local school boards. So I know we all have a lot of free time, but let me put in a plug, because I some of the campaign slogans that I just that I saw are very concerning, and I have to at this point talk a little bit about the book challenges that are happening with some of our communities. There's happening in some of our school districts, and if we can start having that impact at the local level. Some ongoing campaigns. We're working with Wall Township now, and I have to say that NJLA has been really great to help send letters of support whenever positions are eliminated. I know they sent us a letter of support for this issue at Book Challenge at Hunterdon Central Regional. We're also partnering with NJA. And if you want to see the presentation notes where I have more information listed, it's also on that link there. So at this point, this pretty much, oh, this is the other one. I'm glad you brought this up, Darby. Darby worked on this document, but I wanted to put it in here because I can't tell how many legislators do not know the difference between a school and a public library. So that fact sheet and chart that she and I think Jessica worked on.
Jessica Trujillo, yeah, from NJLA.
Yes, will be really useful. And that I have some other slides, but this is really the end of the presentation, Darby. So thank you.
Okay, so thank you to Mary. I'm going to stop sharing. As Mary mentioned, I have worked on some of this stuff with NJASL, so shameless plug. Please take a look at it. But I also want to mention, Kim, can you drop the link? Yes, we will drop the link for that fact sheet in the chat with the caveat that it doesn't look very pretty right now because I was supposed to finish making it look really nice and I haven't gotten there yet. So it's not beautiful, but it is accurate. And I will also mention, since we have a minute, that Librarian Link NJ and Mentor NJ will be hosting a Mentor NJ meetup in early November to talk about the book challenges that Mary just mentioned, because we know we've been seeing a lot of book challenges. So another shameless plug, if you are interested in supporting the librarians and media specialists who are dealing with book challenges or talking more about that, you can join us for that Mentor NJ meetup in early November. And it looks like the other breakout room was just closed, so everyone will kind of get pushed back in here within the moment, and then we'll move on from there. So thank you to all of our lightning talk speakers for this track. You guys all did a wonderful job. It's so much information. I can't wait to look at the Padlet and like dive deeper into it.